Oh boy. So Nintendo, they really don't like anything being online that they don't have control over, and I feel like this is the most extreme slash petty example of this that I think we've seen to date. So there were these incredibly charming scans taken from the Super Mario 64 guidebook that is full of intricate 3D models of each level. This was reported last week in Eurogamer. Sadly, the powers that be at Nintendo have decided to flex their muscles and have issued that the scans uploader, Dave Shevlin of Comfort Food Video Games, take them down with a takedown notice. In a statement to Kotaku, Shevlin said that, sadly, archive.org sent me their usual takedown notice email telling me that Nintendo of America challenged the copyright of the scan and it was removed. I'd love to challenge the legitimacy of this and how Nintendo of America would have anything to do with a Nintendo of Japan licensed Gem Books guide from 1995, but I can't really fight the Nintendo legal team. It's incredibly disappointing. I'm a rookie to the video game preservation scene, but I can't think of anything more depressing than how it's a bunch of hardworking people spending their free time and money painstakingly archiving and preserving history, while major corporations like Nintendo are doing nothing to help. In fact, they're actively hindering the cause. Like other projects that Nintendo have brought down was like Pokemon Essentials, which was a kit that allowed users to design their own Pokemon adventures, and the more famously Super Mario 64 HD, which is the fan project that was a remaster of the N64's first level from the game, and then obviously the Mario 3D remaster came out shortly after. Nintendo have also been taking aim at YouTube channels streaming soundtracks from its game. And then also at the start of this month, videos demonstrating emulation of Nintendo consoles on Valve's Steam Deck also have begun disappearing from YouTube. And also one of the emulation accounts that I follow has actively said that, hey, from now on, anytime I'm showing you these devices, you will not see any Nintendo games on this because, their content's getting taken down. I can't decide who has gone more insane with this, Nintendo or New Japan, but this, I don't see what the benefit of this is.
Given the connective thread there, it's clearly a cultural thing in Japanese business culture, right?
I mean, I guess
that there's very rigorous protection of intellectual property. The Super Mario HD thing, I get why they take that down. That's fine. But the prints of a guide from 27 years ago, would you stop? And I don't know, is this Nintendo doing it themselves? I don't know, is it them outsourcing it to one of those IP protection companies who are the biggest ghouls on the goddamn internet and shoot with a shotgun, not a sniper rifle. They will take down everything and anything. I hate those companies so much. I hate their very existence. But it was such a nice little story that it was oh, look at the nice little 3D models in the character guidebook there. Isn't that great? And then they just had to go and ruin it. It's what are you doing? What value do you get out of taking this down? As I said, I understand the Super Mario HD 64 HD thing, especially when they have in their own pipeline a quote-unquote HD version of that game. But this guide, there's nothing gained from people posting this guidebook, and there is nothing lost. Would you leave the poor people alone?
I still find it surprising with the Mario 64 thing, considering that they made a limited number of fucking versions of that game to be purchased anyway. And even if that thing was up there, did they genuinely think that thing being online was going to impact the sales at all, or were they more concerned about people having access to it so they could do comparisons against the two and then rightly criticize the official release for how fucking lazy of a port that was? I still, even with that, I cannot see where the money is lost by that thing existing and being available to people.
Like Garrett said, I don't think it's about money. I just think it's about they want control of their intellectual property and they don't want you to have it in a medium that isn't approved by them. And this obviously falls under that scattershot of things that isn't approved by Nintendo. So yeah, I don't think they're thinking cash wise here, or unless anyone. Yeah,
I agree. I think this is ours. Stop it. That's what this comes down to. We own this. Yeah. You're not allowed. And I will say to everybody who always makes the constant mistake of making like a Super Metroid 2, stop it right now. Stop it. They will take it down and you will get mad. Now what you should do is take all references to Super Metroid out and call it Blooper Metroid and release it like that, and it's fine. It's a tribute game. There's 9 million of them. You can sell it that way too. You can make money off of it. So I know you're out there. I can hear you making that Super Mario freaking World 2. I can hear you. Stop it. But it's always weird. Like, there is a ton of like Super Mario World mods. There is a ton of them. There's hundreds. They don't touch those. There's a ton of Pokemon mods. I played them through the years. There's a bunch of fan games in the Pokemon community. They haven't touched them. But then they just bring the hammer down on certain things. It is very weird.
Well, I mean, I'd say part of it is like, there's only so many parts of the internet that you can go and look through to find this sort of stuff. Like, you know, speaking from personal experience, part of my job is I go and find on YouTube like videos to APK hacks and mods of our games, and it is unfortunately a bit of a Hydra effect where I'll take down one and then 3 more appear. Or, you know, I'll find different ways that they try and avoid detection by, you know, sometimes they'll have a video and it has a link to the hack, but the video itself is of like a completely different game, and they think that I'm only looking for like trying to take them down by just like actually showing content of the game, and it doesn't work like that. And X, Y, and Z, and you know, it's just I imagine there is a lot of it where just however many people you have hired, there's some parts of the internet where you're just not going to find all of this stuff. And I don't know. It like Nintendo is a weird beast at the best and worst of times. And just, yeah, I just find something, you know, and I do agree with what you say about the Mario 64 thing, but with this in particular, it's just, it seems so petty, you know? It's like, where do you have currently, like in any platform, these renders or these screen grabs anywhere that people could see, you know? Like maybe in one of their fucking museums in New York or whatever, like, but I doubt it. It just seems so petty.
And they could release it. Like a cool thing about the Earthbound release on the Nintendo Online is that there's a link to the Earthbound guide that was released with the original Super Nintendo game. And that's pretty cool. Why don't they do that with this? Unless they don't own it, in which case, what are you taking it down for?
To be dicks is all I can come up with at this point.
No, I just think they're like, leave our shit alone, please. We're Nintendo.
But it's never going to stop. You're going to have people that are continuously, like, to come back to the idea of like the mods and stuff, you're going to have people that will continuously attempt to make like a Metroid 2, or, you know, like, okay, we have the Unreal Engine 5 now, so obviously let's make a Mario 64 level. Like, that shit's just going to keep happening. And I guess part of it is going to come down to, like, when those things gain any sort of traction. Like, if I was to go and make a Mario 64 level, it would be terrible, and Nintendo wouldn't want to even waste energy on me for trying to get it taken down. But if I was to make a Mario 64 level and then, you know, I pitched it out to fucking Kotaku or someone from Eurogame or whatever just found it and then posted it, like, that's the kind of thing that I imagine gains enough traction that Nintendo are going to be like, oh, right, well, we're going to take that down then. So I don't know if there has to be this sort of, like, work or effort that the likes of Kotaku and Eurogame have to do about, hey, like, we found this really cool thing. Do we report it? Because if we do, it's probably going to be taken down by next week, you know? Because, like, that's what happened here, basically. It was an article that was reported by Eurogamer, and then I guess somewhere along the lines, whether Nintendo, whether whoever they outsourced this kind of work to, read that, saw that, and then chased up on it. So, yeah, I feel like there's possibly some, like, something that the journalists need to look into when it comes to this. Like, okay, what is the approach that we take to this? Do we report on this? Because it's just causing more, you know, it causes a couple of days of like, hey, here's this awesome thing I've done, I'm really glad it's getting traction, but the end result of this always seems to be, if it's Nintendo, is like, it's just going to get taken down. And
you know,
sucks.
like, I 100% guarantee that the person in Nintendo whose job it is to take it down absolutely hates it. Like, I 100% guarantee that human being who has to send that takedown request deeply resents having to do it, but what happens is the person above them says do it, and they do it. So once the person above them finds out about this, as Mark's saying, as once this thing blows up and it becomes a news story that gains traction, and that person above the person who sends the takedown request says take it down, that's game over then. So really, we have to keep these things underground, which was maybe the reason all those Pokemon mods exist, because they're all on like obscure forums that nobody visits, as opposed to like Twitter or YouTube.
Yeah, like all of the Nuzlocke challenges and stuff. But they do get videos uploaded to YouTube. So I'm surprised no one's ever really gone after
And Game Freak is, if not...
I have to imagine there are hundreds of
thousands
as well.
Like literally thousands of Pokemon fan games. And some of them are great. Like some of them are really, really good. And Game Freak are generally, I think, even harsher than Nintendo for some of that takedown stuff. And it's still there. It's weird.
My favourite ones are the ones where they take like an existing Pokemon game and then every door you go into is completely randomised when you start the game, so you have to kind of figure out your route through the game.
Like basically every Nintendo game has a randomizer now. Like there's a Link to the Past randomizer, there's a Super Metroid randomizer. All the Pokemon games have all different kinds of randomizers. You can randomize all kinds of elements. All those are out there. You can download them, you can play them. Nintendo hasn't taken those down. It's so weird. It's like, why do you leave them, but you can't leave this stupid guidebook up?